Hello everyone, I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our co-main event for UFC Paris. In our co-main, the French God of War, Benoit Denis, will be taking on one of the four main fighting nerds, Mauricio One-Shot Ruffy, or Ruffy, I've heard it both ways. Overall, I see fireworks with this fight. There's no other way to describe it, really. Is this fight of the night? Quite possibly. I still lean towards Balagioki and Mason Jones, but I mean, the way these two fight, I'm expecting nothing but fireworks with this. Now, overall, Benoit is 14-3. He and 3-2 in his last five, while Rufi is 12-1, 5-0 overall, all part of a 7-fight win streak. Now, for Benoit, in his last five, he was on a pretty impressive win streak of his own, marching through the lightweight rankings, including two of those with Gabriel Bonfim, Thiago Moises, Matt Frevola, and then after the Matt Frevola fight, he gets knocked out by Dustin Poirier in a fight where he showed some impressive moments, especially when he clearly won the first round, had Poirier in a lot of bad positions with his grappling, but it's the Diamond Man. You never count out Dustin Poirier, and he just landed the perfect punch, rocked Benoit, made him pay for his aggression, and then just did what the Diamond does, makes a highlight reel out of someone, and he made a highlight reel out of Benoit. But Benoit, overall, the performance I thought was pretty good up until the loss, and then he fights Renato Moicano last September in the same Paris, in a Paris event, in a fight I think a lot of people were expecting him to dominate. I personally thought Renato won, and lo and behold, Renato fucking mauled him in the first round. And while he definitely laid off the gas in the second, there was no point in continuing that fight. Benoit was just a bloody terrible mess. But then most recently at UFC 315, he got a win over Kyle Prepelec via submission, also keeping his 100% finish streak. And is now looking to defend his ranking once again. Meanwhile, Rufi, overall, he is 3-0 in the UFC. Destroyed Jimmy Molarkey, for more or less styled on James Lomtop or Hamas Lomtop, however you truly pronounce it. And I know people like to give him some flack on the performance, mostly like he couldn't finish him, and he struggled in the third round. But it was supposed to be a catch weight of like 164, and Lomtop missed weight badly. Essentially, it was Rufi fighting a welterweight. He fought basically the fighter up a weight class, is what it was. And then most recently made just this March, made a highlight of the reel by wheel kicking Bobby Green's head off his shoulders, essentially. I mean, if you see, what are they called? They're called Full Violence. They're, Instagram, YouTube channel. They interview all sorts of fighters, like the Fighting Nerds, and make merch. Well, like, you see the shirt of Rufi head kicking Bobby Green. It's a fucking awesome product, really. And I'm not like doing a sponsorship. I just want to shout it out to them. Now, the way you would predict this fight, it's part of like how good are the Fighting Nerds? Because Rufi, Caio Borralho, who's in the main event, Joan Silva, Carlos Prates, they're like one of the most interesting things in MMA. And I'm going to tell you folks right now, I'm a huge fan of all the Fighting Nerds. I love their style. I love their highlight reels. They're all so much fun to watch. I know Carlos Prates lost to Ian Gary, but you saw what he did to Jeff Neal at UFC 319. Let's be real here. The hype is real with a lot of them. And even if they lose here and then, I still believe in the hype because they're all very, very skilled. But the interesting is, of all the Fighting Nerds, and you see it in their interviews, they say Rufi is supposed to be the best of them, or at least the most talented. So that definitely brings in, I feel like, a little added pressure to see how Rufi performs. Because overall in this fight, you have Benoit, who is a definition of just a pure aggressive fighter. He's all gas, no brakes. He charges forward with somewhat reckless abandonment at times, but complements that with very good ground skills. Like, you watch the Poirier fight. He had Poirier in a lot of bad positions, had his back multiple times, took him down, or how he dominated Gabriel Bonfim, who's a pretty good jiu-jitsu artist, and submitted him. And he's got very good ground skills, and his striking can complement that because it's all, like I said, it's all gas, no brakes. Charges forward in that southpaw stance, with his big left cross that he's knocked out a few people with, at the very most dropped them. And just walks in. Very mean clinch game. He throws a lot of good sharp elbows, some crushing knees. Usually complements that with a tight waist to get his body lock takedowns. And from there, if he gets your back, it's not a good look. Now, granted, you can survive. Some only really elite fighters can survive that, like Poirier, and Renato Moicano was just simply a vastly superior ground fighter. And then I think of his only other loss in the UFC to Zaleski dos Santos. That was like up a weight class, short notice. I don't really put much stock into that, besides the beating he took. Meanwhile, Ruffy is a slick striker. Everyone always says that he fights like a young Conor McGregor, and by that I mean the McGregor who fought in that very loose karate stance, a sniper for sure. And Ruffy, he lives up to his name a lot of times. One shot, because really he just needs one clean shot, and you're gonna go on the canvas. Now, if you're knocked out, maybe not, but you're definitely gonna get dropped for sure. He's a fluid striker, impressive head movement for sure. Now, granted, yeah, some fighters can actually tag him, and you look statistically, every opponent's actually outstruck him, but doesn't matter because he lands that one clean shot, literally his nickname, one shot, and it is fucking curtains. I mean, look at the Bobby Green fight, the spinning wheel kick he did, and it was a beautiful setup. He hooks, he's constantly hooking because he knows Green's gonna lean back, and he just sets up, hook, spins through, boom, same side. Now, how I see this fight going, I gotta tell you, I think Benoit is gonna take a lot of punishment in this fight because his head is ramrod straight. He does not have head movement. It's his biggest weakness. His defense is, it's not so much a lack of defense as much as just like there's no presence in mind to be defensively sound. He charges forward at you and will take whatever you throw at him to land his own and oftentimes superior offense. But with someone at this slick, this is as dangerous. He's fighting probably the second most dangerous puncher in his career besides Poirier. And I don't think Poirier is as slick as Ruffy. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Diamond, I respect him, but I just think Ruffy, skill for skill, is a slicker striker. Not a better boxer, but a slicker striker overall. And I just think he's going to be too elusive for Benoit. Now, there is a question, how good is Ruffy's ground game? And for sure, I think that's going to be tested, because without a doubt, Benoit is the most dangerous grappler he's fought in the UFC thus far. And granted, I think his ground skills are not underrated, but I think he has good takedown defense because he's training with the fighting nerds. They're all either elite level grapplers like Caio Bajario and Damian Maia as their grappling coach, or they have very stonewall takedown defense. Especially their single leg takedown defense is very impressive. I gotta be honest, I'm picking Mauricio Ruffy, and I think he's gonna chin Benoit. Odds overall for this fight: plus 150 for Benoit, minus 180 for Ruffy. I remember at Open they were 2-1 favorite for Ruffy, but I think the line's gone down. I think it's mostly due to the fact that we've never seen Ruffy tested on the ground, nor seen anyone really attempt to take him down, because Jimmy Mularkey really didn't have a shot. Yamis Lontop tried at points but didn't succeed, and Bobby Green, even with how the fight ended, the fight was too short to really sell if he would try wrestling, which we kind of know how Bobby Green fights. He wasn't going to wrestle. So yeah, I definitely see Benoit as the first guy to really pursue takedowns in this fight, but again, just with how absent-minded he is with his head movement and his defense overall, he stands like this. He just marches forward. Sometimes his hands aren't even by his head. And I look at like his Kyle Prepelec fight. He was supposed to smoke Kyle Prepelec, and he submitted him in the second round. And overall, when that fight hit the mat, he was dominant. But man, he took so many unnecessary shots from a guy he was essentially supposed to steamroll, who was on a week's notice. And that does not bode well. Now, granted, and Ruffy and Kyle Prepelec are not even on the same skill level. It ain't even close. So, yeah, I'm picking Mauricio Ruffy. I expect him to chin Benoit in pretty violent fashion, and Make another highlight reel for the fighting nerds and kind of silence the French crowd, if I'm being honest. Now, the biggest question I've had myself is it goes over 1.5. That's something if you want to bet on yourself as just a better. I'd say kind of look at how it is, and because Ruffy's 2 finishes first round, he's gone into a decision before. And can Benoit survive and make it to the decision? It's a possibility. He's still pretty tough, but with the 3 losses he's had in the UFC, and his military service, I respect this man greatly. He fought for his country, French Special Forces, but you got to think the wear and tear that training does on your body. Then you think of the beating he took from Dos Santos, the pretty bad knockout loss from Poirier, and then the mangling of his face when Renato Moicano was done with him. I just don't think he can take that much more punishment anymore. It's crazy to think because he's in his early 30s. He's essentially in his prime. It's just those 3 fights alone, and you think of all his wins, how many shots he's actually taken. I just don't really see this as a good as. I just don't see that. I just don't see it. I don't see him winning this fight. I just see this as kind of a really bad matchup for him, just because slick striker, dangerous power, and Benoit is there to be hit. That's the big issue. He's there to be hit. So overall, this might end in a round. This might end a little later, but overall, my simplest prediction: Ruffy by KO. But still, let me be clear. I'm extremely pumped for this fight. I just can't wait because either we get a cool highlight reel or an unexpected fight of the night. Either way, I'm expecting fireworks for this one. But until then, and I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. If you liked the video, comment, subscribe, or like. And next time, we'll be covering the main event for the card. But until then, I'll see y'all next time. Take care.